Today I'm taking you along to go foraging for some evergreens for the upcoming holiday season. I'm going to be sharing my tips and tricks, how to take care of them, how to use them, even if you can only get them from the store. I will tell you what to do with them once you get them home. I'm so excited to share this with you. It's so much fun. So you're going to need some gloves, some snips, some bags. It's really important to have the gloves because you're going to be dealing with sappy branches and also potentially some prickly branches. So this is boxwood. Boxwood grows like crazy here in British Columbia, Canada. I see it a lot in flower shops. They use it as a base for their arrangements, and it's a really hardy bush. So I like to cut this, and if you ever have like a bug sack like you can see here, I just trim that out and just leave that in the forest. So that is a really simple way, because stuff like this, it's really hard to get rid of critters otherwise if you don't just leave them in the forest. So here I am harvesting some cedar. I love cedar so much, and it grows like crazy here in British Columbia as well. You can get this stuff in flower shops. They use it quite often in the Christmas season. And just so you know, if you can't get stuff like this at the flower shop, I would try your garden center, especially those places that sell Christmas trees. Here is a hemlock tree. It is really nice and soft. I love to use this because it's just got such a delicate looking needle to it. I also like to get branches, especially branches that have got lichen or moss on it like this one. It just adds some interest to an arrangement. I also like to pick red willow. It just adds out such a pretty color. You can collect branches that have got some pine cones on it. This is some cedar cones and some hemlock cones. So here we are up in the bush in the winter time, and you can see how everything is covered in snow, but this is the perfect time to go collecting your branches if you can. I think it's just a beautiful and magical time. You can see the beautiful red willow. This is a tradition that my family does every year, and that is to go looking for a Christmas tree, and this is when I get my evergreens for decoration as well. So this here is a pine tree. Pine trees are so beautiful in arrangements. Again, you can get these at the store as well. And everything I'm showing you, you're going to be treating it all the same way. Here's that boxwood again, and you can see it's covered in snow and it still has its leaves on it. It's quite a hardy shrub. I also like to collect some rose hips and some little pine cones. This is from an aspen. And here is that beautiful red willow. It is absolutely gorgeous. Some more cedar. This is all in the winter time. You just go out there, and remember, you can forage, but you want to make sure that you're doing it in an area that you are allowed to forage. So this is an area that we are allowed to go into and get a tree and collect all our beautiful evergreens. So once you get any of your evergreens home, you want to put it back into a bag. This is really important. This is my boxwood, and you want it to be a plastic bag or a wax box. So you're going to need some water. I've got some water here in a spray bottle, and then you're going to just spray everything down. The important thing is that you want to keep the humidity up on this, and you don't want it in a super dry location. So I'm going to fill my bag up with all of the different greenery that I had collected. So I was spritzing water along the way as I was layering things. Now I'm going in, adding an extra bag on top, sealing it all up, and then I keep this outside. It's the best place to keep it. You can get moss, and same thing, keep it outside, and that will help keep it fresh longer. The red willow, it will dry naturally. This is one of the places I love to decorate with some fresh greenery, and that's outside at my front door. So I have my base all put in place already, and then when we came back home, that's when I decided I wanted to add some of the fresh greenery. So I've got my cedar, I've also got the really pretty boxwood that I had got. This here is a fir tree branches, and this is some pine boughs and our red willow that we collected. So beautiful. Isn't it just a gorgeous color? So for outside, I keep it very basic. All I do is just tuck the evergreens into the container. There's no water because this is outside. You do not need to put it in water because it's only going to freeze anyways. But every once in a while, I do take my spritz bottle and I spritz it down with some water. I'm going to tuck some pine cones in here. I thought that would be a pretty look. So here's another option. This particular pot has some old soil in it, but it is dry. You got to keep in mind if there's moisture, you're going to be dealing with freezing and thawing and potentially cracking your container. So all I'm going to do is just trim my greens down. You can see these ones are on an angle. And then all I'll do is take my branch and just push it down into the soil. So this is an option if you don't want to empty your pots out, or if you want it so it's just a little bit easier to arrange your evergreen. And it just really does help if you struggle with that. So in the other container, I just crisscrossed my branches so they kind of interlocked and provided a good base, but you can do whatever. I've got the cedar, this is the fir tree branches, and then pine just adds a nice fill as well. See, I also tucked in some of the red willow. That red willow just adds such a pretty, beautiful color to this. So here's that pine. These are just some little pieces that I had cut off, and I'm just going to tuck them into the back of this bench and into the garland. This is just a really easy way just to fill in a garland. This one's not very full, so I thought this would just add just a beautiful touch to the look of this little Christmassy scene. This is one of my favorite little places to decorate. I don't decorate much outside, but this is one space I absolutely love to decorate. So I'm going to show you a few other ways that you can use your fresh evergreens, but here is the beautiful outdoor front porch all lit up in the evening, and I love how beautiful it looks and how those fresh evergreens really bring just a beautiful, welcoming feel to the space. So another way you can use up all those beautiful greenery is by creating your own wreath. So you're going to need a wire form, and then you want to fill up that wire form with some moss. I'm using Spanish moss, and then you're going to use some twine, and you're going to wrap that twine around the wire frame to help contain all that moss. So I tied the one end to the frame, and now I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it until I get all the way to the other end, and then you're going to want to tie it off again. I'm going to be using my gardening gloves for this, but what you're going to do is just cut down all your different greenery into smaller pieces. So this is some pine that I have, and it's got a lot of sap, so I didn't want that sap all over my hands. Have got some fir trees, some cedar boughs, and some boxwood. So again, I'm going to tie my string onto my wire form, and I am using some jute twine, but I do find that wax twine does work the best if you can get your hands on it. So I flipped it over so that the round portion of your wreath frame is pointing upwards, but you can do it on the other side as well. It's just entirely up to you and how full you want your wreath to look. I'm going to layer some of my pieces together, place it onto my wreath form, and then wrap the twine around that bundle just on the one end. And you want to pull quite tight. That will help to secure those branches into place all the way along our wreath form. So I'm doing a variety of lengths of evergreens, and then you can see I'm kind of just offsetting it now, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap it again. This will help create a really nice full look. So Just in case you didn't know, I am a trained florist. I was in the floral industry for several years, and this is how we made wreaths. We would just layer all our different evergreens and then wrap that twine around on a wreath form. So there's probably different ways of doing this technique. I'm sure people have got some other ideas on how to create wreaths, but this is how I was trained to do it. So here at the end, I'm just going to go ahead and try and tuck these greens in as best I can and wrap that around. And I'm going to tie the string off onto the frame when I get to the end. I wanted to add some rose hips here. I just wanted that touch of color, and I found these other branches. I actually don't know what type of branch this is, but it had a bit of a red tinge to it as well, just like the red willow, but the branches were just tinier and smaller and easier to use for a project like this. So all I'm going to do is cut the branches down, and then I'm going to just poke them into the evergreens and making sure that those ends get tucked underneath that string that we had used, and that will help again to secure it. So I'm going to do the same thing with the branches. If you'd like, you can wire in some more decorative elements. You can even add a bow if you'd like. I really just like the natural simplicity of this wreath being all natural. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I really enjoy making these fresh wreaths. Let me know what you think. And also I want to know if you've made one before. But before you leave, I've also got 2 more ideas for you to check out on how you can use your evergreens. This is a vase that I covered with a piece of some birch bark, and I'm going to fill it up with water. Again, I'm going to be showing you how I create my arrangements. I'm going to be using my wire snips, and I'm going to be trimming down my pieces. You want to make sure that you remove any of the greenery that's going to be below the water line, because that's what's going to cause this to go funky and we don't want that. So you can see I'm just trimming them down, and I'm crisscrossing my branches to create a bit of a base. You want to make sure all your stems are kind of pointing towards the center, and you want to go all the way around. That creates a really nice base. So now I'm going to go in, and I'm also going to add some other evergreens. Again, you want to make sure you remove any of the greenery that's going to be below the water, because that's what causes your water to go bad quickly and causes a really bad odor. So here is my base, and I'm going to start to tuck those little pine branches into the water, and I did create a base with the boxwood first. Here I'm going in and adding some fir branches, and same thing, just removing the greenery, giving it a fresh cut. That's the other thing. Make sure you're giving everything a fresh cut and cutting it on an angle. When you cut it on an angle, that just provides a bit more surface to allow the branch to have a really good drink. I'm also using warmer water. Since my branches were outside in the cold, I wanted them to warm up, and the best way to do that is to use warm water. I'm going to go ahead and add some of these branches now. Aren't they just so pretty? And you can add any branches, anything you like. You can even put some stems like of feathers or something to create a natural look. You can even put some pine cones on wire and tuck them in as well. Here I'm going to go ahead and add some of these rose hips. It's such a pretty Christmassy color. Another option is to use snowberries. They're the white berries. When I was a kid, we used to pop them. So anyways, they were a really fun thing. But so here's my pine cones, and I'm going to show you how I am going to wire them. So here's my wire. It's a sturdy gauged wire, and I'm just wrapping it around the base and then twisting it, and then you've got a stem so you can tuck that into your arrangements more easily. I do have one more Christmas arrangement that I'm going to be showing you, but you can see how beautiful this looks on the table. I I have this ceramic pot and I have a plastic container inside and it's filled with water. So when you're using these arrangements inside, you don't have to worry about the freezing and thawing, and you don't have to worry about your containers cracking because of that. I'm going to be just trimming down my greens, again, removing the bottom greens, and I'm going to be crisscrossing them. This time around, I am using cedar as my base. If you crisscross them, it really helps to create just this nest, and it just makes it so much easier to put your greenery, and it helps everything to stand up better. If you do not want to do it that way, I have seen it where you can tape it. That's another option. Or you can use chicken wire. People have done that, but this is how I was trained to do it. So I've got all my beautiful greenery in place, and now I'm going to be using these other branches that I had found. They had like a little bit of like a bud on it that it wasn't going to go into bloom or anything, but I thought it was just creating an interesting texture. So when you're out foraging, look for those interesting textures, try it out, see if you like it, and use it for your arrangements. Another thing somebody also brought to my attention was the possibility of things that might be on your endangered list, so keep that in mind as well. I'm going to go ahead and add some pine cones. I'm just going to tuck them in this time. These are white pine cones. They're really nice and large. So another tip is just, if you are concerned about this drying out at all, then take it outside and just give it a really good soaking with your water. If it's not in water, then you can just keep them fresh outside for a little while. Or if it's in water, just make sure that it doesn't freeze. The coolness is what helps keep these fresh longer, as well as misting them every once in a while. But if I'm going to be doing this, I would just be doing this for, say, maybe the week of, or max 2 weeks before Christmas. These greens are going to dry out. They are not meant to be inside, so just keep that in mind. But they do last quite a while. I'm really loving the scent that it has, and you can see my kitty loves it too. He loves to be outside, and so having the outside come indoors for him is such a treat for him. I have so many more nature-inspired DIYs for you in this video right here. Let me know if you have any questions, or if you have used fresh evergreens in your home or in your decor. I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.